For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and good morning, and welcome into another edition of Du's Hockey Hotline. I am one of your hosts, Matt Diegert, and as always, riding shotgun, Beyond716. Thank you for joining me again this morning.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? How you doing today?
Little tired.
Yep.
Started the new job, just going through training. I think that I'll be honest with you, those e-learnings that you have to do are more work than are more tiring than what actual work is.
So
it's just staring at the screen all day.
Over under how many cups of coffee you're getting? 6, 7 maybe during those things, trying to stay awake.
Yes, and they're black coffee because I'm on keto, so I can't have the sugar or the cream.
Right?
So it's black coffee, so it's straight coffee. I'm a psycho, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, you are. And that and bangs, blue raspberry bang. So
okay, there you go.
Trying to get through it. Definitely. If anybody needs a mattress, come see me in a couple weeks when I get my store out in LaSalle. So come see me. But let's kind of get into it here this morning, Brian. On our Twitter and Facebook and social medias, we put out a poll the other day that something that the anniversary of one of the most infamous things in Sabres history happened 26 years ago on Thursday. Not the greatest day for the NHL. No goal happened. I know that. So we put a poll out asking everybody if you want to go vote. If it should still be up. I think Pat ran it for 72 hours, so it should still be up. But if you want to go vote on that, it's the most infamous Buffalo sports memory. If one of the ones is not listed in the poll, definitely comment below. But Brian, I wanted to get your thoughts on that poll because obviously we know Maniac from Trainwreck Sports. Shout out to Trainwreck. He posted the other day on Twitter that Sabres fans and Buffalo sports fans had to deal with in a year span no goal, Music City Miracle, and no goal 2. I mean, we're like, if you want to be serious, we're a little cursed. And if you don't believe it after that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
No goal 2, just to reference John LeClair's goal in the playoffs that went to the outside of the net. Is that correct? Just to make sure I understand. I remember that correctly.
Yep.
Okay. I try to block these things out of memory, but I love the no goal 2 reference, by the way. That's for the hardcore Sabre fan. Like the ones that know that, you know it. When you know it, you know, right? So
well, and that's the thing. Like I remember it vividly. Hasek is putting his stick through the opening of the net, showing the ref, and they're still like goal. Like,
yeah, I remember that. It's like, wait, what is this? Like, it just, yeah. What was the worst moment in Buffalo sports history?
The most infamous. On the poll, it was 13 seconds. It was no goal, and it was wide right. Or you could comment other.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking in terms of just the most devastating moment, right? To me, I thought about this a lot. And 13 seconds was a gut shot. We all know that, right, Matt? We lived through it. Wide right for me has to stand on its own, just because that was for the championship. I mean, that kick goes just a little bit this way. We're Super Bowl, period. We're Super Bowl champions. There's no debating it, right? They're Super Bowl champions, no doubt about it, right? No goal was like a more of a delayed reaction / bad rule change. Would we have won the series if they reversed the call? Honestly, maybe a 35-40% shot, Matt, because then we still have to win that game.
They didn't want to look stupid. They didn't want to look stupid. I was listening to all the stuff on the radio about it on the way to work. On afterwards, things were mentioned. And even like ESPN in the highlights afterwards were like, it was his foot's clearly in the crease, and they clearly didn't know about the rule change that happened in the beginning of the playoffs, that the memo got sent out. Lindy Ruff didn't mention it in his press conference after, calling it bullshit. Like, he said, you cannot explain that one to me. Yes, we got one of the greatest things to happen in a Niagara Square press conference, fan meetup, whatever you want to call it, after that. And literally him, let me leave you with these 2 words for the summer: no goal. And then walks off. Like, that's the thing that ever happened for that. But I mean, nostalgia aside, it sucks. It does. And you think about it throughout the whole history of Buffalo sports, not counting lacrosse, because that's starting to get much bigger and bigger now, especially now that they're 3-time champs. Shout out to them. Congrats to them. But 1975, the Sabres were against the Flyers, lost that Stanley Cup. 90, 91, 92, 93. 4 straight Super Bowls, 17-year drought. Music City Miracle. We actually talked to Ruben Brown last night on the podcast. Also had Woody Ribbick on. That'll be coming out tonight. So you'll hear all that stuff. We will not be live, but that'll be a recording of Third Manageable. Just trying to get everybody, get all the interviews when they can happen. We actually, big announcement. We actually will be having we'll be recording with Mary Wilson on Wednesday. Shout out to Ponch's Army.
Oh, very nice.
Be Cool Fool. Thank you so much for that. You're probably not watching right now, but if you watch it on the replay, definitely thank you for that. And that'll come out on next Saturday as a recording.
Hey, Matt, you want me to say it? Nothing but illustrious guests, right? I like that saying, by the way. I'm a big fan of it.
in all seriousness, though, I mean, like, it's. We suffered a lot, and we just want to see this team finally end this 14-year playoff drought. And that's kind of where I was going with this, so we can kind of bring it all the way around and bring it all the way back. This is, again, we say it all the time, this is the most important offseason of this this franchise. So, I mean, I just, and I personally, not going to name names, not going to say anything, but after last night, I'm out on Terry Pegula.
Really?
Yep. Absolutely. We're not going to get into it any further than that, but that's my thoughts.
Wow. That's okay. Now you have me very interested to hear about that. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to Beth. She's new coming in here. So
well, she's actually not new.
Before?
She's actually not new. She's new to Hockey Hotline, but she's always riding with Student and I on Third Manageable.
Well, welcome
commenting
to Hockey
away.
Hotline, Beth. So it's good to see you here, and good catching up with the Sabres. And this is a good comment too by Steve. Could you imagine what Scott Norwood would have to endure on social media right now? I mean
none of the players blamed him. Nobody blamed him. You'll see it tonight because we did talk about that a little bit about the wide right, and because I asked Woody, I'm like, what was it like on the field on the sidelines as that kick is so. You're definitely gonna enjoy that tonight. So if you're a Bills fan, definitely hop on tonight and watch that recording. But you're not wrong. Like, what would Tyler Bass be? What would Scott Norwood be going through on social media right now?
Oh man, real quick, that I did meet when I went to St. John's in the mid '90s. I met a reporter from the New York Daily News who covered those 4 Bills Super Bowls. And the thing that he was a Giants fan. He said, Brian, he was sitting there talking to me. He said, the one thing I'll always remember about Scott Norwood, number one thing takeaway, he answered every single question. He was classy. He was 100%.
Mhm.
He did not leave. He was blown away. He said if there's any athlete that he thought could say, "Hey, I'm done here, no more questions," he would have said that he understood. But to Norwood, he said he'll say to I will always give him credit for the way that he sat
Mhm.
there and handled every single question that came his way after arguably one of the most crushing moments in sports history. Forget modern, North American sports history.
Yeah.
Not to get everybody all sad this morning, but that was such an incredible moment. So that's one thing. That's why I'll always admire Scott in that sense, is that he
Yeah.
never really ran from it. He didn't make excuses. He didn't, you know what I mean? He owned up to it. I mean, not that he was the only reason they lost, like you said. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, absolutely.
But no, bringing it back to the Sabres and bringing it back to everything, I do think that no goal is probably the most infamous in Buffalo
In
sports
Buffalo
history.
history,
In Buffalo
hmm,
sports history, the only
okay,
like yes, I get it. Why that we're down 3-2, but because of all the controversy around it, I think it's the most infamous. I'm not saying it's the
mm,
most memorable, the most important, the most anything like that. It's the most infamous because of everything surrounding it, right?
yeah, yeah,
So, like, because of all the, his foot's in the crease, it comes out 3 years later, 5 years later, or whatever, that there was this
yeah,
secret memo that went around the NHL. And, Brett
hmm,
Hull keeps telling him that it's, he still to this day says it's a goal, and,
hmm,
all this other bullshit. So, I think that that's the most infamous goal or infamous moment in Buffalo sports history, just because of everything that happened,
you know,
everything that surrounds it.
Matt, you know what I've been looking for the longest time, and one of my favorite Lindy Ruff moments of all time
What's that?
was the draft. Now, leading the draft, after no goal, Gary Bettman's on the podium, right? You know how the players in the organization comes up and they shake the hand of Bettman? Lindy Ruff, stone cold, walked right by Bettman, didn't even look him in the eye.
I don't even know
Nobody did.
how he got out of Buffalo that night. Like
I
honestly, I
loved it.
remember I
Yeah.
remember thinking that
But
as a kid is how this guy got out of Buffalo
yep.
that night.
Yeah. But
Like at least without a police escort.
but if you want to know how much Lindy Ruff cares about this team and this city and this, how the players loved him, that moment right there, like he didn't even acknowledge Bettman's existence for that draft. I said, yes, that's my guy right there. Like
Well,
that.
and there's
Yeah, he
there's
had.
two things for me that
Mhm,
kind of prove Lindy's love for this team, love for this city.
mhm.
One is that moment right there. That whole sequence during no goal and everything like that. Number two is him being, what is he now, 67, 68 years old, 70, whatever he is right now. I'd have to look it up. But him taking the job last year and coming back because this team and see if he can do something to turn around. I think those are the two moments that prove how much Lindy actually loves this town, loves this team, loves this city.
Yep,
Just my thoughts.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, it was just I was just gonna say, and we could pivot to this now if you'd like to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Into the
Absolutely.
moves, because Steve, you spoke to my soul this morning on this. Okay. When we first saw that, I first saw that deal, I was like, wait a minute. We gave a second round pick for Beck Malstein. Beck Malstein is a fourth line, grinder. He's just a second round pick. And Mason Marchment is 6'5". He's 30 years old. He's a 40 something, mid 40s point guy. Third and fourth round pick. Now, Mason Marchman had the one thing that this league hands out like candy, and it hurts the Sabres. This is the one thing I will agree with Adams on a little bit,
Yeah.
is the no movement clauses. They're killing the league. It really, 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 really limits what the Sabres could do. That's the one thing I will kind of stick up for Adams on. But who created this? Who created this culture? Right? Who's creating it? It's Pagula. It's Kevin Adams. It's everything that the Sabres have earned this place. So I don't want to hear them use it as an excuse openly, because you created it. You're the
What
ones
was
that are
the
having
what
this
was the
problem.
number? What was the number that you gave me? 63 million or 65 million or something like that they in the last 5 years that they've left on the table in cap space or something?
They've left $30 million every year. They've
Or
left six
30
million
million,
dollars
yeah.
or more. So again, Buffalo fans, I'm not even when I talk about no tax, I'm not even talking about the Buffalo market, Matt. The reason is because we're not spending to the cap. I'm actually sticking up, crazy as it sounds. I'm sticking up for the Torontos and the New Yorks because they're the ones that are generating tons of revenue for the league.
Yeah.
And yet the Floridas and the Dallases and the Vegases have these built-in advantages that Gary Bettman even refuses to acknowledge. Right. And again, you still have to build your team, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Like, and I want to tell Sabre fans one thing. The one thing you can learn from Florida, don't be afraid. Remember when the Florida Panthers, and I got to give my buddy who's a Devil fan credit for this. You remember when the Florida Panthers traded a 100-point winger and a stud defenseman for Matthew Tkachuk, and they were getting ripped for it? Remember that?
Oh, let's trade Jonathan
Huber.
Give up? Yeah, let's trade Jonathan Huber because that was right. That was the literally what was it? 2 years ago, their first Stanley Cup appearance.
Yes,
because they Huberdeau was
they
on
made it. Oh, well, as an organization, Florida made the 90s, but you're talking
right.
about,
I mean, in this 3-year run.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right. You're right. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, you take Huberdeau, and they realize, oh, we're not going to win a cup with the team constructed right now. So they went out and
they took a big risk. And I'm going to circle back to this guy, Matt. Please don't crucify me for this. Okay. Only if a guy like Tkachuk was available. It has to be the perfect player. But I wouldn't even be afraid to trade Alex Tuch if it involved that. I'm not afraid. I'm not, as a Sabre fan, I'm not afraid anymore. And I got in a little bit of an argument with Dwayne the other day online. Host of Two Goalies One Pod or Two Goalies One Mic, whatever their podcast is. But I got in a little. I wouldn't call it an argument, but like he said that I can't remember what he said, but I basically said if you're not taking calls on every single player, I know you have your untouchables like your Dahlins or your Tucks or your Thompsons. People have different untouchables. I get it. But if you're not at least listening to every single call, it is malpractice as a GM. It truly is, because if they're going to call up and say, oh, we're going to give you 4 1s and McDavid for Dahlin, okay, cool. But if you don't pick up the phone, you can't have that conversation. I'm not saying that that's ever what it would be or the phone call would be, but if you're not picking up the phone and actually at least having that call, conversation, those things never happen. We saw after Le Whistle, their podcast with Craig Gervais, Andrew Peters, they came out and said that he has Pettersson as his top line center. He thinks they're going to trade for Pettersson still. Really?
So yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it's Craig or whether it's Andrew, but literally one of them put it on the podcast Twitter account that their first line center is Pettersson for next year.
Could we see a Bowen Byram and JJ Peterka trade involving for EP40? Ellis Pettersson. I could see it.
I would be okay with that. Honestly,
I'm 100% okay with that.
I'm against trading JJ Peterka, but if you get Pettersson back, I am perfectly fine with that, because you're going to put.
I'm in your camp unless you're getting an Ellis Pettersson, if you're getting a Jason Robertson, if you're getting. I'm not trading JJ Peterka for Keandre Miller and picks from the Rangers. That makes no sense to me at all. Right? That's where I'll agree with you on that. No.
Yeah. No, and I said it last week. Unless you're getting a player like a Pettersson, a McDavid, a Marner, you're not trading JJ Peterka, and there's no reason to. I get it, but and you're not taking. Here's the thing: you're adding money to your cap. You're not taking any away. Because neither one of them, both of them are RFAs right now, and they need contracts. So, are you going to sign both of them to that's because if you actually take a look at it here, let's break this down for a second, right? So Peterka, let's say he's getting what, $7 or $8 million a year. Let's go on the high side, say 8. Bowen Byram's gonna get $6 to $8 million. Let's go in the middle and call it 7. That's $15 million in cap space, where Elias Pettersson is $10 million. So you're saving yourself $5 million by trading that away. And now you can take the number 9 pick and something else, or you can use the number 9 pick to bring in a defenseman, or you can do you can buy out Matthias Samuelsson. and pick up a defenseman or get one in free agency. There's so many things that you can do when you get that, top line piece that's going to go in the middle of probably, who knows, Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson and Jack Quinn, whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Matthias Samuelsson, if the Sabres buy him out, will cost about $700,000 over 10 years each year. So,
and I'd be okay. I'd be okay with this too.
That's not even a minor. Oh, Vancouver was interested in Norris at the trade deadline. Make Norris. You know what, Steve? I'm okay with it. Now, I'm good with that.
I mean, if you can trade,
remember what we talked. Yeah.
If you could trade, or if you can acquire Pettersson and keep Peterka, like that gets you in the playoffs. Like, I'm sorry, that's a playoff making move.
You could listen, or you could get. If you, like you said, if you make that move involving Norris and even Byram to get a guy like Elias Pettersson, you could even trade. I don't get wild here, but you could trade. Let's say the Rangers still want Peterka. They have an excellent Braden Schneider, 6'5" defensive, right-handed shot, 22, 23 years old. Bring him in. I would love to put him with a guy like Owen Power.
You know who I want more. You know who I've always wanted more. We had this conversation in text the other day. From the Rangers, I'd be okay with a 1-for-1 trade with JJ Peterka. It's too bad. It's too bad. Rick has passed. Lafreniere.
I would love to get Lafreniere. And you know what's interesting about Lafreniere? If you look, I did a side-by-side comparison of his numbers and Sam Reinhart until he was 23 or 24. The biggest trait about Alexei Lafreniere, you know what it is? Incredibly, very high intelligent hockey IQ player, just like Sam Reinhart. Doesn't skate great like Sam Reinhart, right? Alexei Lafreniere has been pinballed on the Rangers since he came into the league because the Rangers already had a excellent top six when they were gifted the number one pick. It's not a very common occurrence that you see a number one pick go to a team like the Rangers.
No.
Right, who had good talent. So he's never been able to really get comfortable. If they're willing to trade him, I'm listening. I'll take him in a second on the Sabres because I think it'd be a great change for him just to get out of New York. And I think he would settle in. Out of curiosity, what other states have taxes like New York State? Well, Beth, yours
California.
I live in the Golden State in California. I think I'm getting taxed just by saying that here. So that but yeah, California has higher taxes than New York. I would say, I mean, Canada. Then you start getting into Canada.
Canada's pretty bad.
It's the worst.
So what are the six? I was trying to think of the other two, but you have Dallas, you have Florida, you have Tampa, you have Vegas.
There's
no
a surprising
taxes.
market. There's a surprising market that has no income tax. Washington State, Seattle does not have it either.
Seattle, and then who's the sixth team?
Wait, okay, so you have Florida, Tampa Bay,
Dallas.
That's 3. Vegas is 4. Seattle's 5. Nashville 6.
Nashville, Tennessee.
I call them the you know what I call them? You know how you have the original 6? I call
the no tax 6. Yep, the no tax 6.
Ladies and gentlemen, we call it the no tax 6, right? The new original 6, right? So
yeah.
But again, just remember, Matt. Listen, Nashville's made some blunders, right? Mm-hmm. Nashville's made some bad signings. Now, again, Florida has made tremendous moves, folks. Like, let's not get misunderstood here. They still made some incredible hockey moves. Where the tax advantage comes into play is, what have we heard about their center Sam Bennett in the last couple days? He's probably going to take $2 million less.
Wolf of Wall Street meme, like.
Yep. And he's going to take maybe $2 million less. Yeah, he's going to take $2 million less to stay in Florida than he would if the Buffalo Sabres came calling, right? Let's say the Sabres won the Cup and they had to re-sign
Sam Bennett.
Sam Bennett, would he take $8 million? No, he's taking 10 or more. That's where the advantage comes into play. That's what we're talking about.
That's the horrible thing too. Is like I don't want to get too much into taxes or anything like that because I want to get back to the Sabres off season. I know you're going to get me on one here at some point to get me going. Probably breaking stuff.
I won't do it.
But
I won't do
it. No, I'm going to do it to myself, but in a second.
Okay.
But as far as the taxes go, I mean, it sucks because Bill Daly came out and put it on Twitter that they have during the CBA that they're not going to even look at that. Like they're not going to look at the tax advantage. Like I'm sorry, it's bullshit. Like you can tell that they want to give the advantage to some of these teams that are because it's not the cold hockey teams. They figure, they're going to continue watching their hockey teams during the winter because they have nothing better to do.
Yep.
So we're going to keep the tax advantage down with the Florida, the Nashville, the Tampa, all these hot market teams that unless they're good, they're not going to have a fan base.
Now, I will say this, Matt, to give you some hope. The cap is accelerating very fast in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
That I think is going to help negate this a little bit because Florida's not a hotbed for hockey. Want a good example, Matt? Remember that lacrosse team you were talking about in Buffalo with the three-peat?
Yeah.
They were outrating the Miami market in the Stanley Cup Finals, folks.
Well, let's be serious. I mean, Miami isn't a sports town. I mean,
No,
they
but
got the Dolphins who haven't won. The Dolphins who haven't won something since 1973. You got Miami. I mean, you got Florida. That's technically not even Miami. It's South Beach or whatever it is, out on that island by themselves. They're completely away from Miami. And they got the Heat. That the only way that they could win is bringing in Shaq or putting a super team together with LeBron.
Yeah. Well, you know what I told some Miami Dolphin fans that were in Spaces and they're all about the Panthers. I said they're so embarrassed to even call yourselves Miami, they're gonna call yourself Florida, so they don't want that sting of Miami on their name. So, so I always tease them about that. So
also too, real quick before we get back onto the Sabres or before I lose my freaking mind, one of the two things. How did you feel about them approving Atlanta the other day or the market?
I think the Atlanta ownership originally was just putrid many, many years ago. And the demographics and everything in Atlanta is changing. You got a lot of transplants, obviously, probably a lot of Buffalonians down there as an example, a lot of New Yorkers. I mean, I'm from the New York area. I got several people I know that moved to that area, right? So maybe now it would be if you get the right ownership and you get the right approach, I think it could work. I think Atlanta's big enough it can handle it. I think Houston's another obvious one. I think Kansas City would be a good option.
So
there's plenty of good options out there.
Just a quick question. Yeah, just a quick question for you, because you obviously need two teams to come in to make it even, right? One in the East, one in the West. But my question to you is, why did it fail in Atlanta the first time? And I'm not necessarily saying ownership, but do you think it's because of, with all the success we've seen from Vegas and Seattle and whatever, do you think it's because of the changes to the way that they kind of handle expansion now? Or do you think because like before it was just like, oh, we're going to keep all of our good players and you're going to get the the bottom of the barrel players, and you're going to get an Ilya Kovalchuk, but that's it. Like, and Danny Heatley, like, and that's it. You're not having anything else nice.
Yeah, they just did. I mean, they drafted poor. I mean, remember Atlanta had a good team for a little bit of time there, right? They had some really good players. Danny Heatley, Ilya Kovalchuk. I mean, they had some talent. I don't. Did you? I don't know about you, but I used to like the original Atlanta jerseys. I thought they were pretty sweet.
Oh, I love the Thrashers jersey.
The Thrashers, yeah. It was cool.
I remember when they first came. Yeah, I remember when they first came out. Getting them for like because I used to play NHL like '99, NHL 2000, NHL 2001 on the computer, because they didn't have the great consoles now that they have now. So you had to have like graphics cards and everything built into the computer to get these great graphics. And I remember downloading like the batch files to put those Thrashers jerseys in those games.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just bad ownership. They didn't maintain the team well. They got off to a good start. I mean, again, maybe it's changed. I hope they've done their due diligence. I really do think it's different now from the 2000s down to the mid 2020s. I think you're going to get more hockey fans there now than you probably would have. I mean, if they put it strategically in a place where it's easily accessible. I mean, I've heard Atlanta traffic is a nightmare, so you got to make sure it's
Mhm.
in a good spot. I mean, one of the reasons why the Coyotes failed is where they put the arena, which is not in a good spot for a lot of people in the Phoenix area to get to. It was a nightmare. It's almost like
Yeah.
Ottawa's arena is a nightmare to get to. It's way outside the city. It's not even close to where the Senators play now. But they have such great fans out there. They get away with it. But
So real
there's a
quickly,
lot of reasons.
so do you think that is the because I know they wanted to give because they lost Arizona lost the Coyotes to
Hmm.
Utah, the Utah Mammoth now.
Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
Not crazy about it.
that's gonna be weird, but
Mammoth.
do you think they're gonna be the second team to go along with Atlanta,
Well,
or do you think it's gonna be like a
Phoenix is the fastest growing city in America in terms of, people are just moving there like crazy, right? And I
Mhm.
think it may be getting close to being the fourth biggest city in the country now. It's moving really, really fast. I don't know. I mean, Phoenix is, again, it's a very transplant type city, even more than Los
Mhm.
Angeles.
Yeah.
In that case, it's like a Tampa, it's like a lot of retirees from the Midwest move down
Mhm.
into, the Phoenix area. I don't know. I would rather see a team. I'd like to see Quebec get another team personally. I know
Oh,
it's
I
the
would too.
East,
I
but I
absolutely I
think
would too.
uh, it's a smaller market, but I think it's so intimate. I think they would do great up there. Plus, you get the Montreal Quebec thing immediately. You get that rivalry back in the mix. Even with the Sabres. I mean, the Sabres used to have a rivalry with the Nords. For us old enough to remember
Yep.
that. So there's a lot to chew on there. But I think this league. People say, "Oh, can this league can't expand?" Oh, I think it can. I think it can
Oh,
expand by four
absolutely.
teams. I think
I
there's
I
plenty
think it
of
can too. I think it can too.
because what's one of the things as a Sabre fan we've been complaining about? Not complaining. We have so many prospects, we don't know what to do with them all. But we're
Right.
not. See, here's the other thing too that our listeners got to know: we're not alone in that.
Right.
So that's why it's not as easy as you would think for a guy like Kevin Adams to trade some of our prospects because other teams also have these prospects too, and
Right.
you don't have only have so many places for these guys. So that's
Mhm.
why I think the league could expand, and you could have some of these lower end guys go to those teams to get those opportunities.
Right. Right. No, I agree. And the last thing I will, because you brought up the Nordiques, the last thing I'll say I'll go over or ask you real quickly, um, before we get back to the Sabres.
Yep.
Do you remember the Lindros stuff
With the trade
with with
with
them
the facts.
and they had to take him to court? I didn't know they had
Yes.
to take him to court. I didn't know
Yes.
that. Like that's a piece of that I didn't know. I actually learned that the other day listening to
Yes.
GR.
Hmm.
Like that's absolutely crazy to me that they had to, because it was what, New York Rangers and the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yep. That was supposed to
Could
happen.
you imagine if the Rangers at that time had gotten
Lindros.
Eric Lindros after they had gotten Messier, after they had gotten all those players? Like
They
that would have
eventually
that
got him later in his career, but not at that moment.
right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That would have been something. Eric Lindros, man, I'll tell you what, if that guy would have stayed healthy his whole career, man, he would have been.
Had Scott Stevens not taken him out with the elbow, I think he would have had a much better career.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Lindros got caught with his head down. Remember, he came back from injury, and it was that first game, and Stevens just, I mean, he laid him right out.
He
So
did, but it was also a little bit of a dirty hit.
it was
It was he hit
borderline,
him with
but
his
yeah.
he hit him with his
Mhm.
elbow. He definitely did
Yeah.
hit him with his elbow, but
Yeah.
it's just it comes down to the fact that he didn't lead with the elbow like this. It was more of a
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
you know, but
Yep.
but that being said, I want to get your thoughts on one other thing. This one does have to do with the Sabres. You know my thoughts on it.
Okay.
How did you feel about the Instagram post from Brad Marchand thanking the Buffalo Sabres?
He's an idiot. Flat out. He's a troll. He's a troll. He's trolling the Sabre. Listen, that's why. it- Listen,
Again,
I
he's a
can't
garbage
stand.
human being. He's a garbage human being, and he should not be allowed on this planet. I'm sorry.
I want his style on the Sabres. I don't want him on the Sabres. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I
Yep.
want a player like him, but not the way he conducts himself.
Yeah.
That's God. I know
I
that's a
don't.
hard to ask, but
Yeah. I don't
yeah,
hate many people. I don't hate many people. I
Brad
hate Brad
Marchand
Marchand, and
is
I don't
I,
even know him.
I hate bradmarchand.com, Matt. There's the new site.
I'm gonna
We
buy
could
a
stop.
I'm gonna buy a T-shirt. I hate Brad Marchand and sell them.
There we go. Do champions apparel. I hate Brad
Yeah,
Marchand. First shirt. There we go. I'm aboard. I'll buy it. Absolutely.
I'll have my
Yeah.
entire wardrobe will be that. Like
Yeah. But
ugh.
every time I see stuff like that, Matt, I take it two ways. Right.
Mhm.
It bothers me, like all these images you see. I saw that. Did you see that picture of Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel, and Ryan O'Reilly in the same photo? I mean, but it I know others are putting it out there to troll Saber fans, but also at the same time, we've earned it. The franchise has earned that.
No,
I'm sorry.
no,
Like
no, no,
I'm just
no,
being
no.
honest.
The franchise has earned it. The
Franchise,
fans have not.
that's correct. Yes,
And
that's what I
that's the
mean.
thing. They think like Brad Marchand doing this to it's on Instagram. He thinks the Sabres, they don't care. The players don't give a shit. The Terry
No.
Pagula doesn't give a shit. Kevin Adams doesn't give a shit. The only ones it hurts is the fans. And
Yeah.
that's why I keep saying like that dude like is in my estimation as bad as Jarvis Landry, and fuck Jarvis Landry. I don't care. Like no,
Yes. Yes.
like
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he's never like truly Brad Marchand has never done anything to a Sabre because it was Milan Lucic that ran I almost said Dominic Hash, Ryan Miller with no response because that team was a big bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry. Like I don't want to get too off topic and too I don't want to get too riled up this morning about it, but
Yeah.
like it's there's no place in hockey for him, and for him to get another cup, I'm sorry, it's just
Yeah, no. It just it just proves to you that
I don't even
sometimes
hate. Here's
life
something.
isn't
I
fair.
don't even hate.
It's not
I
fair.
don't hate Tom Brady as much as I hate Tom Marchand.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Yeah, Tom Brady. It's kind of weird. Like once Tom Brady got out of New England, and I started like even when he's on Tampa, I was like, you know what, this guy's okay. He
Did
doesn't
you
bother
see
me
the
that much.
video? Did you see the video yesterday of him coming out to
Mhm.
Cody Rhodes' music and then Eli
Yeah,
Manning jumping him after he ripped? And obviously they're just having fun at Fan
that's
Fest, but
fun. Yeah, yeah.
like
I
it's
guess the
nice to
the whole
see him
thing
have
with
a
Brady.
personality. It's nice to see him have a personality out of getting out of New England.
Yeah. The whole thing, you know what earned me respect for Brady recently is when he said to Josh's dad, "I look at Josh as my son." Like that was cool. Like I really think Tom does look at Josh as like
Yeah.
his, he kind of he's really trying to be a great role model for him, which is good.
Yeah.
I think that's listen, if I'm Josh, I'm listening to him, right? I mean, especially when it comes to nutrition, taking care of himself, things like that. So, we all want Josh Allen to
Yeah.
play till he's 45, but we'll leave that alone.
I mean,
Well, listen.
hey, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as he can play, I mean, as long as he's Josh Allen, I'm fine with him playing. But
Yep.
back to the Sabres and back to Pedersen and back to Marner
Yep.
and back to
Mhm.
can you tell I'm dreading talking about the Sabres just a little bit?
Yeah, listen, I get it. And the thing is, we haven't seen a lot of movement yet, right? But
That's
here's
the
what I'll do, Matt.
problem.
I'll set this up for you a little bit of where we stand with some things, right? So, Jason Robertson, I would say the dream is over, folks. I
Yep.
don't think the Dallas
Yep.
Stars, because they traded Mason Marchment, I think, and Dallas, listen, to give up a 100-point guy who's in his mid 20s, that team's going to do whatever it takes to keep him. So, unless the Sabres just now Dallas supposedly said they heard offers. I guess they may have heard some offers and things like that. I'm curious if the Sabres are in there or not. Of course, we'll never know that, but I'm curious as to what they would offer in those cases. I would forget the Jason Robertson stuff. Mitch Marner, I don't see it either. I unless, like you said, if we traded, remember you said you saved 7 million on the cap with with that trade involving Elise Pettersson. If we bought out Matthias Sanderson, like if they made some strong moves like that to clear a lot of space, maybe I could see them taking a run at Mitch Marner. But I think there's too many teams out there, Matt, that have way too much cap space.
I think he's going
You
to
know what?
Vegas, to be honest with you.
You know where I think he's going, and I'm going to credit Peters and Reve for this. Is that Mitch Marner played with Joe Thornton, and he played with the other guy from San Jose. He's got strong ties to Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton's he's in San Jose. San Jose has 41 million in cap space.
Oh,
If I were the
Marlowe?
Sharks,
Marlowe? Were you
Patrick
talking about?
Marlowe, thank
Yeah.
you. Yes. So I could see where Mitch Marner, if I were Mitch Marner, I would strongly consider San Jose. I really, really would. Yes.
That's for
Steve.
Steve. I mean,
Yes. Those are
that's
the kind
where
of
I'm
moves I
going.
want to see from this team. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are and again, the Sabres don't need to get reckless and just trade everybody. We're not saying that. Just don't this as fans, we need an injection of excitement, right? Even if it doesn't listen, if they traded for Ellis Pettersson and they did that, they got Rasmus Anderson and they made some other moves and it didn't work out. You know what I would say? At least they're
They
trying.
tried. They tried.
I'd rather them try something than do nothing and stick with the same old story.
Well, and that's the thing.
You
Yes,
know.
even here's the thing. If you're trading for Pedersen and Rasmus Anderson and you still miss the playoffs, yes, we're probably getting rid of Kevin Adams or moving him up into hockey ops, and Yarmo is probably going to take over, right? I mean, we can all kind of agree on that. That's most likely
Yes.
the direction that's going when Yarmo Kekalainen took the job.
Yep.
Either way, I can see it. Whether it is playoffs this year or whether it's not, I can see it being Kevin Adams still being a part of this team because he truly is nothing but that kiss ass and yes man. So he's going to move up into hockey ops, and you're going to have Yarmo Kekalainen probably be there to be the GM. And I think that's going to be the way that it is. And I think that you're probably going to see Lindy Ruff probably move up into a more of an advisory role within the Sabres in the front office. And Seth Appert is probably going to take over as head coach. And I truly feel this way, that this is kind of how things are going to play out. And I truly think that that's the plan so that everything stays the same.
Which is kind of crazy, Matt, because why would an organization like this, like, let me give you an example. If the Florida Panthers moved on, if Paul Maurice was going to go upstairs, okay, and if they stuck with their assistants and, you know what I mean? For teams that actually win a lot, that makes sense. For a team like the Sabres that's been in disarray and is the laughing stock of the league, why are we acting like as if we're some kind of amazing organization? We're going to keep things in house. I want to blowtorch this organization at that point. I want everybody gone. I want a complete makeover and a new you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't it feel weird to you in that case?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, and that's why I'm saying, like, I think that just seeing the writing on the wall, it just kind of feels that way. I mean, we'll see. I mean, like I said, but I would be ecstatic if I saw tomorrow it was either Josh Norris or JJ Paterka and Bowen Byram for Elias Pettersson, maybe a draft pick as well, whatever. And then you go out and find a way to do Rasmus Anderson. I don't care. Swap him with Matthias Samuelsson. Maybe that they think that they're getting a younger defenseman. Maybe fix him. However that whatever. Just let's say those are the two trades that happen. We trade Matthias Samuelsson for Rasmus Anderson. Anderson plays with power. You go out and sign another somebody to play with Rasmus Dahlin, or whatever the case may be. The only other thing that I would want to see at that point, because even Marty Baron agrees with me, folks. I'm not kidding. He said it again on the radio. Devin Levi needs one more year in Rochester.
Okay. He's a goalie. I'll take his word on that.
I absolutely taken Marty Baron's word on that. Yes, it's my thought. It was my opinion before.
That's true.
But now it's backed up by somebody like Marty Baron.
Yeah.
He needs another year of seasoning. You could probably bring him up because he's got that one more year of non-waiver eligibility as well. So you can kind of bring him up and down and do whatever you need to do with him. But with that being said, you need to go out and get a number one goaltender. UPL is not it. UPL is not it. I'm sorry. You cannot sit back and worry that, like, what's going on.
Yep. Now, if we want to, I don't know if you ever saw Seinfeld when George Costanza goes, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts," right? So, remember we were talking about Elise Pettersson. Why don't we find a way to get Thatcher Demko in that trade. 1
I'm
year,
fine with
$5
that.
million. I mean,
Yeah.
you could take a shot on him. Thatcher Demko, if healthy, I mean, he'll be motivated to have a good year. Even if he doesn't stay with the Sabres, or maybe
Mhm.
they consider keeping him at that point. Um, Heck, I even called the National Predators about UC Saros if they're looking for a blow up. I mean, UC Saros
Yeah.
is another guy that, listen, I like Devin Levi, and I know. See, this is where Kevin Adams, I'm sure, wants that trade to work because Sam Reinhart is making us look terrible on that trade, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't care about looking terrible on trade, Matt. I need results. I don't care if we got to move on from Devin Levi to get that number one goalie for 5, 6 years. I'm good with that. Like, if we get an absolute number one guy, I'm perfectly fine with moving on from him. But again, it has to be for the right player. You just don't move on from Devin Levi just to move off Devin Levi. You have to get, that absolute, and that's where a guy like UC Saros comes into play. He's still only 30, I believe,
Yep.
but of course he has that no move, and that's going to be the tough part about that. But again, just interjecting some of the thoughts on what the Sabres could do here. I mean, one of the bread and butters of the Sabres organization through the first 30 something 35 years of this team's existence was always what, Matt? We always had good goaltending, right?
Yep.
From Don Edwards to Darren Pupa. Yeah, I said Darren Pupa. I've seen him surface on Twitter, which has been great, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, it's
that's
been
an
awesome to
awesome
see
thing.
Darren. Yes. Tom Barasso's, the Dominic Hasek's, the Ryan Miller's, you know, Yep, I agree with Beth. I mean, he's a huge priority. Yeah, Darren Pople was great. He's been taking a tour of Buffalo lately, which I think is awesome. So it's just great to see Darren, back in the mix with the Saber fans. So, um, but yeah, that's always been like the calling card of this organization, right? Is having strong goaltending,
Yeah.
and I think we just got away from that. In the tank year, we decided to tank it all and then build the team first. That was Tim Murray's thing, right? Oh, get that. So, okay. So Yarmo has ties with Gavrikov and other Russian players. Steve, I love that thought. Even another guy in the Kings named Jordan Spence, another solid defenseman I would love to see, would be a great pairing to put with a guy like Owen Power. That's one of our
Yeah.
priorities this offseason, too. We need a good pair with Owen Power. We need to get the best out of Owen Power for the money we're paying him, right?
Yeah.
Rasmus Dahlin, I don't worry as much about, Matt. We'll find somebody for Rasmus, but Owen Power is the guy
Yeah,
you need to
I'm
get
not
straight.
worried about Darlene because he
Yeah.
makes he made he makes Bowen Byram look good. He makes
He can make me look decent on the ice.
probably you could probably just
Yeah.
stand there at the other blue
Yeah, just
line
stand
and
there. Yeah. Yep. No, but you're right though. It's true. So, and but listen, your guy is who I really still like on this team, JBD.
yeah.
I
Yep.
still like
I,
JBD. And
I
you
like
know who else
JBD as
likes him
well.
is who else likes him is Reve.
Yeah.
And he's again another former defenseman.
Yeah.
He's big on him too. And I think about you when he said it because you liked that move when we got him.
Yeah.
And I think he's perfectly fine with I'm okay with putting him with Darlene. I'm comfortable with
Yeah.
that. Are
You
you?
put you either acquire Jay Spence or you acquire I almost said Rasmus Asplund, Rasmus Anderson. And you put either one of them with Owen Power. You figure out which one you want to be their guy, or maybe try and acquire them both. You have the cap room to do these things. So you acquire you acquire one or both, and
Hmm.
that you put Jay Spence with Darlene, you put Rasmus Anderson with Owen Power, and then you put
Hmm.
JBD on that third line pairing with Connor Clifton.
Yep.
We're done. We're done. And you go out
Yep.
and acquire Elias Pettersson, and and if you get Thatcher Demko in the same thing, let's move on to the season. Like that's truly how I feel.
Maybe they signed a guy like Tanner Janot, who would be an
Yeah,
interesting guy
that would
to
be a
put in that
nice one
bottom line.
too.
Give us some toughness. Give us some little grit down there too,
Mm-hmm.
which would be nice. So, uh, great to see you, Steve. Oh, a steak. Look at this. He's doing a steak. Oh, sorry, Matt. You go ahead. My bad. Steak Cook-Off Association. Oh man, good luck on that, Steve. Now
Yeah, good
7:54
luck.
a.m. here, and I'm ready for a steak now. All right, good job, Steve.
I mean, Steve rides with all of our shows. We might need to
He's
send
the
him
best.
We might need to send him a due brand for now knowing he does state competitions. We might need to send him a due brand to get on those stakes. But good luck, Steve. Glad to always have you on the ride. But Brian, you're not wrong. This team does need more toughness. They do need to. They need to bring in something that's going to help when you're going up against, like, you remember what we talked about maybe 6 months ago with the that third line of the cup team, right? That Dixon, Ward, Vaclav, Verata, and I'm trying to remember who else would go on that line.
I just love these names. I just love hearing it. It makes me think of good times with this team.
But I'm being serious, even secondary, because that Lindy Ruff mindset came to that 05-06 team, 06-07 team, or 07-08, whatever, however you want to look at it. But like, you have guys like Paul Gaustad and on that third line that's going to play against your top line guys. And I understand the game has changed a little bit, right? Like it's changed a little bit, but some of those things still have to be like, you're still always going to if you're at home, you're going to try and pair your best defender against that top line guy. You're always going to try and pair your if you're at home, you're going to always try and pair your top, keep your we'll get to that here in a second, Josh. You're always trying to pair your top line guys away from the best defender. So there's always that little bit of game that's played. So those type of things haven't changed in hockey. As far as that mindset goes. But I do think that a Tanner Jeannot would be a nice signing as far as that toughness, and he does bring a little bit of speed there. So, and size and grit and everything like that. So, but like I said, I mean, my dream offseason, and I don't know, how it would work or anything like that, but honestly, it would be Pettersson, Demko, Anderson, Spence, and move on to the draft. I mean, move on to the season.
Yep. And the other thing is, speaking of the draft, right? And we had that comment from Josh. I think I'm leaning more that the Sabres are probably going to keep this pick. And the reason I say that too, Matt, is there are other teams that are looking to move out of the first round, right? There are other teams looking in the top 10 to move that pick. So maybe I'm not sure if the Sabres are going to get the value that they may think they would get in other drafts. Now, having said that, Josh's question about what they're going to focus on. Now, here's the good news about where the Sabres pick. I've seen a lot of mocks, Matt, and I feel like in a lot of cases, the Sabres end up with good value at 9, right? Yeah. Because this draft from the top two guys are set, Michael Misa and the defenseman, Matthew Schaefer. They're the 1-2. They're coming. They're the horses coming down the stretch. They're the top two.
And who has one real quick?
The Islanders. So they're going to take Matthew Schaefer.
Yeah.
So Michael Misa will probably go number 2 to San Jose. Then after that, this draft gets interesting. You have a lot of different options. I would say organizationally for the Sabres, I would say this, Matt. There's a guy by the name of Radim Murka. He's a right defenseman for Seattle. Think Tyler Myers. Big guy, right? But I could see Seattle taking him at 8 because they need defensemen bad, right? They've been taking a lot of forwards, so I think they'll probably scoop him up. As far as what the Sabres need, I would think they need size, and I think if they could find a guy with toughness or one of either, Brady Martin is a guy that I really want the Sabres to get, but I feel like
he's going to be top 5 pick. He's
a Sam Bennett clone, so I do think he's going to move up a little higher. But you could take Anton Frundell if he does slip, would be great. He's a Swedish, winger center. Again, he's got size. He plays the corners great. You got Roger McQueen, who's another 6'5" forward. Lots of offensive upside, but he could be a boomer bust guy. So I would say, but listen, I saw a mock this morning, Matt, where Porter Martone ends up going to the Sabres.
Yeah, that would be. I want him on this team so bad. That's why I was hoping.
Yeah.
I was
Yep.
hoping. I'm hoping, still hoping that he can
Yeah.
some way find a way to fall to 9, or maybe
Yep.
the Sabres move up a couple spots. Maybe take Porter Martone at 7. You know why 7?
Mhm.
Because that's like the Buffalo lucky number. 716. Overall, that's
Yep.
where Josh got
Yep.
taken. Who knows? But no, in all seriousness, I know Joe Marino, the Sabres Joe Marino, like the guy that covers the
Yep.
Sabres, not the Bills, Locked On Sabres, or Locked On Bills, Joe Marino.
Mhm.
He said the other day that, and I know you brought it up to me earlier, is Porter Martone's not as much of a Matthew Tkachuk clone as once thought.
In terms of elite toughness, right?
Right.
He's tough, but not tough. You know what I mean? Like not.
All I'm going to say on that is I disagree,
Mhm.
because at this point, I disagree. And I'll tell
Mhm.
you why. We haven't seen him in the NHL. We haven't seen his ability to use his quote unquote toughness
Mhm.
to against grown men, right? I mean, they're not playing grown men where he's playing. They're not doing
Yeah.
any of that stuff.
Mhm. Yep.
So let's let him get into the NHL. Again, like I say with all the time, like when we talk about Deion Walker needing to get into the NFL, their weight and nutrition program. Let's let somebody like a Porter Martone with that body size, with that style, with that mentality, get into an NHL weight and nutrition program and see what they can do for him.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
I
I
know
mean,
you're
I was
answering
looking at
questions in the comments. So,
no, I was looking at Martone's numbers in Brampton last year. He had 98 points, 37-61. He had 74 minutes, which is I think some people were thinking Brady Kachuk clone in terms of his toughness. Maybe he's a little bit more like Matt. Matt doesn't rack up as many penalty minutes as Brady does. But you know what I mean? Maybe he's somewhere there. But again, that size um is what just to address Josh's question, I think that's the number one thing I want to see
yeah.
in this organization. We need players that have a little edge to them, that have some toughness, that that's what this organization needs down the pipeline. Because again, these guys we're going to take down, we're not going to see them for a couple years.
Yeah.
Sabres are on the
Well,
upswing. I listen, Beth, I think
Porter
that's very
Martone, I think
possible.
Porter Martone slots right in. I think that Porter Martone
Oh, right
slots right
away.
in. Yeah,
Ooh.
I do.
You don't want to develop him for a year or two? You're not interested in that? You want to bring him right in?
Nope. Nope. Bring him right in. Get him right into the NHL. Put him on the third line. Let him play with Zucker
Mhm.
and McLeod, and open up some space for those guys.
Mhm. Yep. One other guy I wanted to bring up in terms of free agency to you. Would you object to your deal? Overpay the AAV. No, it's not Brad Marchand. Don't worry. So, but I'm talking about this guy for leadership. How about John Tavares?
Yes. Yes.
I I,
Yes.
I think
See how
he. Yeah.
I
We're on the
answered before you
wavelength.
even said it. I knew
Yep,
you
I
were going
love
to
it. You
John
knew it.
Tavares. Yep.
That's why we're a great team. There it is. So what do you think? I mean that.
I love John Tavares. I understood because I know the Sabres were involved when he first became a free agent after being with the Islanders. I know that they were involved. I wanted him back then. I still want him now. He might not be he was never a fast guy or anything like that. He might have lost a step now, being a little bit older, but he's a little bit wiser in how he plays. He's always been super smart guy. And if he were to come down here, it's only 90 miles from where he lived.
Yeah.
From his hometown. His uncle was, I'm sure, is still part of the Bandits. I'd have to go double check, but
Oh, that's his uncle? Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know that. Oh, because
yeah,
wouldn't that be wild to say we brought in John Tavares and he could look up to the rafters and his name is there
yeah,
and it's his
yeah,
uncle. Maybe
yeah,
that's a selling point. Listen, and I don't know if John has a family or anything. I mean, his age, maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't want to uproot and go west. Like maybe he would rather stay on this coast. I could see it. I could see this being a
yeah,
fit, John Tavares, and I would love to see it. Former captain can help Darlene, kind of help with that behind the scenes. Darlene's doing fine, but he's still young. I think that a guy like having John around, I think would be a great addition for the Sabres.
But I mean, that allows you to put, something like that allows you to put Kulik back on the wing, or on the wing. It allows you to. So let's talk about this. Let's talk through this for a second. So if you were to go out and trade, because you're probably not trading Josh Norris as much as I think that's an amazing idea. Josh Norris, for taking that swing and trading Josh Norris and Bowen Byram for Elias Pettersson, I'd be ecstatic to see that. But I think if you're going to bring in an Elias Pettersson, it's going to be JJ Peterka and Bowen Byram. So your top line now is going to be who? Tage Thompson, Pettersson, and are we putting Alex Tuck or Jack Quinn up there?
I would put Tuck on the second line in that case, because I could have a lethal second line with that. That's just me. But again, we can definitely debate that. Or do you go wild and say to yourself, I got a great first line, Matt. Why not put Zach Benson with him?
Yeah, you could always do that. You could always put Yuri Kulik keep him on the top line, but have him on the wing. So that way you have three guys that could play that center position on the top line, and do whatever you need to do up there. So it kind of gives you that semi versatility up there. You have two guys on either end. And I know Steve said it earlier, but Pettersson is that pass first guy. They don't have a pass first center. Norris is always looking to score, and so is Kulik. So if you put Tage Thompson, Pettersson, and Kulik on that top line, you have those three guys up there. I think that's a good top line. Then on your second line, you're going to go Alex Tuck, John Tavares, and Jack Quinn. How do you think that line is?
That'd be nice. I mean, the thing is, once you get that top talent, you could slot one of those younger guys in there to try to help develop, take their game to the next level, and they could be breakout players. So, and we've got to think if we're going to sign Jack Quinn too. That's the other thing too, as with all the RFA decisions, which we'll definitely get into. I think we'll get into that more probably next week, and as we lead up into January. Don't listen to me.
Well,
July 1st, because
you got to remember what day is the draft? Is that's the 24th? Right. Hold on, I'm looking it up
Friday.
Right now.
Yeah, it's this Friday coming up. So we have the draft this Friday coming up. It's in my neck of the woods here in Los Angeles. It is Friday at 7:00, the first round. And then Saturday is the round 2 through 7. They moved it. It's not in the Kings Arena. It's now in the Microsoft Arena. It's much more intimate. Unfortunately, I will not be attending that for reasons undisclosed, but I think, but we'll just leave it at that. But we will be here, and we'll be ready to talk about it.
We will be here most likely. So here's my question to you, Brian, and this is more your time because I don't want to do 2 shows if you don't want to do 2 shows. But I would absolutely love to do like an hour first round show with you on Friday night, and then
we can. And
then Saturday morning we can come on and talk about any moves that were made or anything like that.
Well, how about we can handicap. We can do a live. I mean, just for anybody out there listening, we could start because we're going to be picking 9th potentially, or either 2 things. We either have a trade at that point, or we'll have a pick at 9. So we could do like top 12, top 13, something like top 15 or whatever. Once we get down to the 20s, if the Sabres aren't involved, we'll probably, we won't do that, but we could definitely do that. And then Saturday during the, I believe it starts at 10 my time.
Yes, I think it's 1 o'clock. I think it's 1 o'clock or noon. So it'd be 9 o'clock 9 a.m.
So we could do the pod. If you're available on Saturday, we can do it.
Yeah,
we may get some of that draft into the second round. So, but we could catch up and analyze the first round, maybe analyze trades or talk about that. So we'll definitely have some packed information, and then maybe we could get more into where the Sabres, who they could take at that point, because the reason we haven't gotten really deep into it, everyone, is that we're thinking the Sabres may not keep this pick. So that's why it's been, we're not as enthusiastic as we usually are in terms of, who the Sabres going to take.
I'll be honest with you. I truly do think that we're not going to know whether they keep it or get rid of that pick until probably that night to see who's going to fall I don't think they're going to trade that pick until they're on the clock, honestly.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know how but I would think that
Unless it's part of a Byram trade or a Paterka
correct.
trade that
Correct.
beforehand, that's the only tip off. So bottom line, I think by this time next week,
I think both I'm of the mind right now. I think both Byram and Paterka are going to be gone by the draft. By the end of the draft.
I think Byram's got a great shot to move. Paterka, I feel like we're hearing so many different opinions on that. I don't know what to make.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sabres still hold the cards with him. That's the thing. They still really do. But listen, to me, if the guy, I don't know if you heard Andrew Peters talk about JJ Paterka. He's like, forget him. I'll send him where he doesn't want to be. Like, he has no sympathy.
Right.
He's like, hey, his general point is I need to do what's best for the team. And I agree with that. Like, I think,
Oh, I do too.
but ultimately, JJ has to agree to that next team where he's going to sign. Is there going to be an offer sheet? Is there going to be, and this is why it's a very complicated offseason, because if he signs an offer sheet, the Sabres have to decide draft picks or not. Probably not their most ideal scenario in that case. But if they say no and take the picks, then they can go make some other trades and go wild in that case. But
Well,
with the
and
right general manager, which
yeah, and before we get out of here, we'll and definitely keep up to date on go follow us on Twitter, on YouTube and everything, because we'll definitely be putting out when we're going to be going live for the draft next week, and then also figure out what we're doing Saturday as well. But with that being said, I want to pick your brain on this real quickly.
Sure.
The Sharks, you brought them up as having the second round or second overall pick.
Overall.
On top of that as well, you said that you think that Mitch Marner, that might be a location for them. Former Buffalo Sabre Mike Greer is their general manager.
That's right.
If he gets Mitch Marner and then also drafts Mika, or however you say his name. Misa.
Yeah.
So you get Marner, you get Misa, you already have Celebrini, you have Eklund.
Will Smith.
Like, that team is going to be majorly improved.
Yes.
Going into, because you throw Marner on that top line and I literally just named their top. We just named their top six.
Marner and Celebrini will be must-watch TV, folks.
Yes. The Sharks will be back to what they were with Thornton and Marleau and Couture, and they'll be back to what they used to be very, very quickly if they end up signing Mitch Marner. But
and they got a lot, and they have great. Believe it or not, I know they haven't been drawn lately. That's a great hockey market to play in, San Jose. It's not San Francisco, folks. It's at the bottom of the bay. It's kind of nestled away. They love their Sharks there. They treat their players very, very well. They
travel very well too. Their fans travel very well too.
Yeah, so I could see it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens on that front. I think. Listen, I still agree with you about Mitch Marner. I still would love to hear. I just would love to hear like Ellie Friedman paying a little close attention to Buffalo as they're thinking about Mitch Marner. That's enough for me. As long as I hear that they're doing something or trying to do something, I would be okay with that. I just think it's going to be hard for them to pull it off. But
I agree. I would rather, with the Pettersson news starting to come back up, I would rather have Pettersson than Marner. But that's just me personally. So.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, it depends. It depends with Pedersen. The only thing I'm a little worried about is headspace on that. But Pedersen is a guy. He is a countryman of Darlene. Maybe that would be a good fit. In that case, maybe I don't know what their relationship is like, but maybe Buffalo would be a good market for him just to kind of. Vancouver is a pressure place too. Canada in general is a pressure place for the most part. Any city you play for in Canada. Did you hear what Toronto fans have been doing to Mitch Marner? Putting garbage on his lawn at his house. I mean, come on, like that's the thing about Toronto. Like these fans are just. You think players want to put up with that, or you think they'd rather go play in Vegas or Florida where they could just be themselves and just
no tax. They can go be themselves.
Good real estate, cheap real estate, good weather. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, oh, by the way, don't sleep on the Kings for any of these moves either. The Kings are
Oh
always big
yeah,
buyers. The Kings are
yeah.
a team. That's another great market to play in, believe it or not. A lot of their players live in Manhattan Beach, which is a beautiful area just west of LA. It's kind of nestled. It's a really good place to be a hockey player. That's another team that I could see making some huge moves. And that's a team I want the Sabres to focus on in terms
AJ
of their
Spence.
defense. Or yes, I just think that would make so much sense. So,
Hmm.
and I could see Byram going there too because um Dowdy's getting older, right? And after that, they don't really have that number one power play defensive guy.
See,
Like that makes sense to me. I could see the Kings being a match for Bowen Byram. I could definitely see it.
well, definitely stay tuned to us here at Do Champions for Du's Hockey Hotline. We will be putting out any information as far as anything that we hear,
Hmm.
anything along with anything as far as hockey goes. Definitely stay tuned for tonight's show with Woody
Yes.
Ribick and Ruben Brown. That is
That's
a
great.
recording. That is a recording, so we won't be live, so we won't be able to answer any of your questions. But definitely, it's a great interview. If you're a Bills fan, past, present, or future, and want to learn anything about what happened in the equipment room, definitely follow. Definitely give that a watch tonight. But Brian,
It's good to be seen and nothing but illustrious guests. Go Sabres, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week for an action packed week.